Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm gonna kind of be showing you how I trade news days, and uh, obviously you don't want to trade before the news, but after the news, there can definitely be some really good setups. So I'm kind of gonna be talking about how I trade them. So what are the news days I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about CPI, NFP, PPI. Those are the three big ones I would say. FOMC is kind of a little different, but I'm talking about more of the data news ones at like 8:30. Okay, so FOMC is different. FOMC, I really recommend not trading unless you are really good at knowing the algo range breakout, which is another whole strategy that I haven't fully mastered. But FOMC, it's kind of just the fade the first move thing, but that's kind of gambling. Okay, but I'm talking about the days where we get PPI, CPI, or NFP because after when we usually start to form nice trend or nice price action, and that's kind of what I will be talking about. So FOMC, I still wouldn't recommend trading because it's way too much volatility, and you're gonna get wrecked in FOMC because of it. But for FOMC, CPI, and PPI, we do get some nice trends after. So I'm just gonna be showing what I look for. So what I look for in CPI, well, CPI, PPI, and NFP. Obviously, I look for the move up or down. So I'd like to see if we're moving up or down, and after that, I have a footprint chart so I can see where the voids are. And if you don't know what liquidity void is, it's basically a candle where no orders get filled. So right around here, 4,098 to about 4,060ish, there was a liquidity void. There was a bunch of orders that didn't get filled here, and you're going to find that a lot on these CPI, PPI, or NFE days. And usually voids are filled, okay? So what does this mean? Well, I look at where the top of the void is, and you can find where the top of the void is by going to the 1 second chart, and you can see if there's a gap in the 1 second. But I like to draw the void. Okay, so today I believe it was like started about right here, and what do I look for after that? Well, I look for clean structure to form after the move. In this scenario, we get an obvious higher low, and then we reject this for a value gap, but obviously that would have been a more risky play because we don't really have a market structure shift right here. We're still in an uptrend technically. But then here's our break of structure. Here's when I see, oh, we just broke structure. We're in a downtrend, and that's when I look. I look where the liquidity void is. Okay, so I know that if we go into the liquidity void, like right here, the chances are that we fill it are very high because once we enter the void, we're likely going to rebalance and fill the whole void. So right here, I saw we get this move, we get this market structure shift down, and then we get into the void around here. I'm like, okay, I'm bearish the rest of the day. We're probably going to fill this whole thing because we got into the liquidity void. And that's the main thing I look for. I look to see if we get into the liquidity void or not. So we obviously have this 5-minute order block, and today in Discord I did alert this. So if you look, this is also the 0.705, and this is the optimal trade entry for ICT. And I alerted this play. I alerted it like right here is like a small 1 minute fair value gap, so we had a little bit of drawdown. Wasn't too bad, but what ended up happening is I covered most here for 10 points because 10 points is 10 points, and I got stopped the rest at break even. You can see kind of induced this a little bit, but that's okay. But the reason why I shorted is because I saw we entered this liquidity void, so the chances that we filled it were very high, and I saw we broke this with energetic displacement. And I also alerted a short in here, okay? I wanted to try the short after I saw this energetic market structure shift. We never got up to it, unfortunately. But the main thing you have to take away from this video is look to see where the voids are in the 1 second chart. If you have like TradingView Pro, I think you can get them, or Tradeify, you can get them on Webull. I'm pretty sure you can get them. So if you know there's data at 8:30, go in the 1 second on Webull and see where the liquidity void is. And when you enter it, then you should expect to be bearish or bullish depending on where the liquidity void is. So if it's a void down here and we get to it, then you would be bearish until you fill the void, okay? So that's kind of something to look for. And you can see when we got to this, we bounced off this order block a little bit, but but when we got this, see how energetic this break is of structure? You can see how big this candle is. So the chances that there's no short orders left over in here are very, very slim. So you can see we clearly reject this fair value gap right when we get into it. And I think it was a 3-minute one. Yeah, it was a 3 minutes one. So when we got this candle, I knew we would probably break this order block right here, and probably hit liquidity. And liquidity was the low before CPI, so this is what I wanted to see hit. And you can see we hit that after. So we hit that low. And again, the main thing you want to look for is look for a clean trend after, okay? And draw the liquidity void, because if you see us trend into the liquidity void, then chances we're going to fill the liquidity void is high, okay? So I'm just going to show you like the other example from when we had PPI. So this was PPI, right? And there's been instances in the past where we dump from PPI and we just keep dumping. That's why you have to wait for a higher high or higher low to be broken. And in this situation, this whole thing's a liquidity void, so we expect this to be filled. And then what happens? We create a lower high right here, a higher low, and then we break this with energetic displacement, and that's when you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to be bullish the rest of the day because we're in an uptrend in a liquidity void. So we're not just going to reject randomly this liquidity void. And if we did reject somewhere in here, it would be this breaker block, but that's a whole other kind of scenario. And we ended up rejecting this. So there was a small part that didn't get filled up here. But during this day, I know NQ did get filled all the way up to this liquidity void, so it kind of evens out. But you can see, like, you want to wait till you get an identified trend to go up or down. So if you see us trend into the liquidity void, then you're not entering here. You're not entering this long right here because there's no market structure shift. You're entering after we break this, and then you entered a retracement down here, whether you use fibs, fair value gap entries, or whatever. You can see there is a small fair value gap entry here with a little drawdown. But there's your entry. And again, that's how you kind of play this. So I think this is really important to note. If you look at the daily, you can see in this example right here, okay? You can see in this example, this dump, okay? This dump right here, sorry, let me try to highlight this. This candle right here was from FOMC. And let me highlight it yellow so you can see a little better. And this candle right here, you can see we dumped, and I think the actual CPI dump was like from here to here, and then the whole day we just downtrended. So during this specific day, which it's going to be really hard to go back to, during this specific day, we never got a trend break up, okay? So I remember this day. I remember I learned a short at the beginning of the day, and we got a lower high, and we never broke that lower high. So I really recommend, if you during this look at like the 5-minute chart. The 1 minute, it's going to be too small. So on the 5 minute, there's our clear 5-minute break. We probably got a couple breaks up here in the 1 minute, but again, this still could have bounced. So I'd really recommend doing that. But yeah, do not, what I'm going to say is draw the void. Don't be bearish or bullish until we get into the void and you see the trend. We could have trend out in here, and then we could have bounced before hitting the void, okay? So just be careful of that. But ideally, usually what I really like seeing happen after these news pumps or dumps is I like to see the void filled right after. That will happen every time. It only happens if we get the trend continuation into the trend shift into the void. If not, then likely it's probably going to be chop day or trend down all day. Like in this situation, we would have trended up if we didn't ever enter this void. But you can see sellers kept getting this price, the bid for their price back into this void. So as soon as we got there, the market started refilling this void. And another thing is, sometimes smaller news events that we have, like they only go like 20 points. Smaller data events at 8:30. Sometimes you'll see like a clean order block like this at the bottom, and oftentimes it's a very, very low risk long, but long or short. So you can see you got let me see, 54. This went like 14 points just off this. So this is another situation. But for CPI, PPI, and NFP, if the moves are huge, I don't really recommend playing this. But for like the 10 to 20 point data moves at 8:30, the order blocks before are strong points or reversals, even for scalps. So that's another thing I do watch for. But ideally, you want to mark the void. You want to look at the trend after, and you can often find some very clean plays. So that's all I got for today. hope you guys all printed today. I had a few missed entries in my Discord, unfortunately, but the ones that we got 10 points off one. I said I alerted this, so we're out for 10 points there. But yeah, other than that, I hope you guys learned something from this. Remember, you don't have to always trade news events. You don't have to trade news events at all. You don't have to trade after the news events. It's all up to personal preference. Some people think this is gambling, but honestly, after the news happens, I don't believe it's gambling. I think you could definitely predict price with precision after. Obviously, the end of the day was a little messy right here, but it was kind of expected after this nice price action here. So, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.